Playing with Wulong in Tekken 7 is such a fun in this game, and sometimes I like to combo it with Rage Art when I have the chance. Not only I have to thank Harada for bringing Lei back to the game, but I also have to thank him for giving Lei 5 rage drives, and each of these drives have different and unique ways of being used. But the question is, can you use them as a combo or not? Welcome everyone, Winter's here, and today we're gonna have a look on Lei's 5 rage drive and see if we can use them as combos. So before we start this video, I want to thank the Fighter Succeed, in short TFX, also known as Wulong, for showing the possible way of using rage drive, combos and setups. And also want to thank Mastermind as well for his tutorial on stance transitions, mainly because I haven't played Lei for a long time and I seem to forgot most of Lei's dance transitions. Without these two, I wouldn't have gone far with my experimenting of Lei's rage drives, so I can't be more thankful enough. It is very important that you know Lei's dance transitions, as they are the key for Lei's deadly mix-up and rage drive combo, which I will actually show. It is also very important that you know how to do setups, as there are great materials on how to trick them into your rage drive. Therefore, I will put Wulong and Mastermind's video in the description below. As a little extra, I will also put a little guide that I got from Tekken sidebar to about Wulong, so you can actually have a look on these links whenever you want. So let's move on. So as we all know that Lei has 5 animal stances: Snake, Panther, Crane, Dragon and Tiger. These 5 animal stances are definitely not there to look cool, unique or stylish.
I'm a bird, mother, I'm a bird. Look at me, mother, I'm a bird. I'm a bird, mother, I'm a bird. Look at me, mother, I'm a bird.
Nope. These 5 animal stances are Lei's ultimate weapon, and each of them has their own technique of poking, punish, counter or launch them, and each of them has their own rage drive, which is quite deadly and dangerous. But the question is if you can use these on launch or on a combo to make it deadlier and more dangerous for your opponent. I've been experimenting on those rage drive for days and hours, and the result I actually got from it was totally worth it. On this video I will mainly explain all the 5 rage drives, what I learned from it and how to use them as combo, and I will explain them as best as I can. So let's begin. The Snake Stance. The rage drive on Snake Stance is a huge pushback and is a mid damage, which is the same attack as 1+2 on Snake Stance. It is often used against an opponent who retaliates, and it's an excellent move for baiting, fast poking or setups, like his 1-1 or forward 1-1 for instance. It can also be used for parry if you hit 3+4 at a correct time. However, if your opponent predicts your rage drive on Snake, they can either block it or counter it like Shaheen's hop kick for an example. Which is why I thought to myself if this move can be used after a launch or after a combo or after a screw. And the result I got from it was less than expected. This is one of these 5 rage drives that will whiff if used with most of Lei's combos. But again, thanks to Wulong's guide on rage drive use on wall, I've also experimented on wall combos with rage drive as well and see for myself if I could do more about it. But let's start with the ones without the wall combo and see if it's possible to use it or not. So the first move is following: up forward 2 while holding forward to Snake Stance and rage drive. Be cautious, this move can be whiffed if delayed, so be careful. You can also use following: back down 4 while holding down to Snake Stance and rage drive. Take note that if you're further away from your opponent, it will not sweep, and therefore your opponent can block your rage drive by simply blocking or backdashing. So wait, it actually works if I'm really close? Let me try. Oh, fuck.
All around me are familiar faces.
Oh, I forgot to mention you have to be back turned before doing this.
Goddamn son of a...
And now on to rage drive on wall combos. So the first move is following: while on play dead, hit first, which is down 2+3, press 4 for the spring kick, then go for forward 1-1 while holding forward to Snake Stance, then use your rage drive, then go for forward 3-1 and up back 4. It is easier to use the play dead hit first by using Tornado Kick, and holding down. And you can actually go for a 2 or 3 charm after the first hit of Tornado Kick. Or simply just use the following tree, which is up for 2, just to pressure the opponent at the wall. The next Race Drive on wall combo is following. While on Tiger Stance, press 1+2 near the wall for wall bounce. Then go for up for 2 while holding forward to Snake Stance. After that, hit it with your Race Drive. Then go for forward 3-1 and up back 4. This is special thanks to Melee. This move is also the same as the previous one with the Tiger Stance 1+2 for wall bounce, but instead of up for 2, then go for forward 1-1 and holding forward to Snake Stance. After that, go for Race Drive and forward 3-1-2. However, it gives lesser damage compared to the previous one, but since the both can be used, then it's all good. You can also use other launches like up forward 2, but make sure your opponent doesn't kiss the wall too much or it will whiff. It is recommended to use this Race Drive first since it's quite fast and he has a small evasion when you do it. But you might want to be careful since it can be countered with a faster move. I've actually tested this with Shaheen's Race Drive versus Lei's Race Drive on Snake. So yeah, it is possible to counter it, but as long as you're using your bait correctly or using setup and mix-ups as well, your opponent will actually think twice on countering it. So those were the Snake Stance, Race Drive and what was possible to counter it. And let's move on to Lei's other stances with Race Drive combos. That sounds pretty sexy. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. The Panther Stance. The Race Drive on Panther Stance is a hit that makes the opponent fly into a screw. This Race Drive is a low, high damage and is the same attack as Panther Scratch 1-2 pressed right after each other, which is actually one of the top moves of Lei Panther Stance. Well, at least is my top favorite move. But the main issue is if any good player who knows Lei pretty well can predict it and therefore be punished. So I thought to myself, again, since it's a screw attack, it could be possible to combine it with some launches and juggles, and then hit it with Race Drive to do a good screw attack. Well, it didn't go well as I thought. Since there are few stance resistance to Panther, this Race Drive can whiff a lot if used on a combo. I've tried many different ways and had actually no luck with it. Which is why this Race Drive is actually best to use as start of a combo, just like Shaheen's Race Drive for an example. Or at the near wall to do some wall combo that give actually really good damage. So the method that I could actually come to think of was to launch, then use Razor Rush. After that, go for Sidestep, to Panther Stance and then Race Drive. However, like I mentioned earlier, it can whiff a lot if not doing correctly. You can either hit too late or accidentally hit an extra button which will lead you into Tiger Stance. Anyways, it is possible to do it, but it's not recommended at all since the damage from it is pretty low. And after the Race Drive, it does not count as a combo since this Race Drive makes the opponent fly further away from you. But if you want to use it, then my advice for you is to use it when your opponent's health is low, or at least low enough to KO. And also it is possible that your opponent can stroll left or to the right and recover right after the Race Drive, so you gotta be careful on that. So let's go to the example for the Panther Stance, and I'll actually start with one with the not recommended one, because you might be asking for that. So the following move is forward 4-3, then go for forward, neutral 1-1, then sidestep to Panther Stance and Race Drive. You can also use other launches by following up forward 2, then forward, neutral 1-1, and then sidestep to Panther Stance and Race Drive. It is also possible to use the launch while on Panther Stance and then hit 2, and then follow on with some combo and then Race Drive. This actually gives more damage than the other two launches that I just mentioned earlier. So after the Race Drive, you can do the following. Dash forward 3 and then hold back to back turn. Then go for down forward 1 and 1 and then 4-1. You can also use 4-4 at the end of the combo instead of 4-1. Now, there are a few sidestep issues you need to learn about this combo. So let's take an example. After the forward neutral 1-2-1, you can sidestep either up or down to Panther stance. Simple. But if you sidestep up to Panther stance after the launch, then race drive, your running tree will whiff because of the opponent's position is now on sideways. But if you sidestep down to Panther stance after the launch, then race drive, your running tree will hit because of the opponent's position is now in front of you. So make sure that you remember to sidestep down on this combo. So now let's move on to the recommended one. This is a simple one. So once you use a race drive on the Panther stance at the beginning, run and hit tree and hold back to back turn. Then go for down forward 1-1 and then 4-4 to end. Remember that you can use the 4-4 on floor break on Forgotten Realms and then do the following moves from there. And since I'm still learning with Lei, I haven't had any ideas on following combos after the floor break. Well, at least not yet. But I know you pros out there know some stuff or two, so do whatever you can from there. As a little extra, I found this move, but it is one of the hardest combos to pull out. And I've been able to do it around 3 or 4 times. So if your up 4 tree gets hit by counter, then hit 2 for screw. Then go for forward neutral 1-2-1 and sidestep to Panther stance. And then race drive. Feel free to play with it and practice it, since I can do it more often. And the reason I can do it more often is because of the race drive that whiff on this combo. Yes, it is a really hard move, but it works. So like I said, it is best that you might want to use this race drive at the beginning. And the best way to use it is by simply baiting your opponent with your mix-ups. By using late stance transitions from Snake to Panther or from Dragon to Panther, or simply just Razor Rush and then sidestep to Panther. If you want to bait them into a race drive and then follow up with some combos, then it's important that you know late stance transition as I mentioned at the beginning. With perfect mix-up should do the trick. However, you might want to be careful with some mix-up that goes to Panther stance, especially from Snake to Panther mix-up, since it can be low parried by a very good opponent. What you can't use is while on Snake stance go for 1-2-1 while holding forward to Panther stance. This won't allow Lei to hit low, so you don't have to worry about getting low parry all the time when you go from Snake to Panther stance. And another thing, try not to rely this race drive too much, for it can be blocked. Because even if it's really that good, this stance is most punishable when predictable. But remember, Lei is a master at baiting his opponent, so use that on your advantage. With that being said, let's have a look on another chapter of Lei's other stances with race drive combos. The Crane Stance. The Crane Stance race drive is a kick that launches the opponent sky high, which is also the same as up forward 4 while on crane stance. But he must be close to the opponent or at least close enough to hit them. That might sound easy, but everyone who knows Lei or been playing Lei for a long time, the crane stance itself has a huge weakness against mid and high damage, and it can easily be punched. But he will win on any low kicks if Lei is on crane stance. And his up forward 3 can be a huge risk to use, but it is the most rewarded for Lei if this move hits on counter. Let's take an example. Kazuya's leg sweeping can be countered or punished if Lei is in crane stance. He automatically does an up forward 4 and kicks him up without you pressing anything. This is also one of those race drives that are recommended to use start. I've tried to use it after screw or after launch and combo, but it will either whiff or don't connect after the race drive. After testing it several times, I only found 2 moves that can be used on launch, so let's check them out. Remember that I told you that Lei's up 4-3 is a huge risk to use but most rewarded if hits on counter? Well, here what it can do if it's rewarded. So if up 4-3 hits on counter, use your race drive and press 2 for screw. So here what you need to be careful at. If you hit your race drive too early, your race drive will usually whiff. And if you delay your race drive for a little while, your screw will whiff. So you have to time it right with your race drive, so a little practice should be good. After the screw, there are 3 different moves you can pull out from it. After the screw, go for forward 4-3 and hold back to back turn. While on back turn, hit 4-4. Or you can do 4-1, but it has the same damage as 4-4 while on back turn. You can also do forward neutral 2, then back +2, then 4. Or back 4-1, or forward 3-1-2. And for the happy ending, we have forward 4, then 3+4, or forward 2, or forward 3-4. These combo can only be used if up 4-3 hits on counter, but it does with screw attack a lot if you don't time it correctly. Also, I tried with different launchers but won't connect after the race drive on crane, since your opponent is flying further away from you and Lei is still on crane stance after the race drive. And Lei is slow to recover if you cancel the stance, and is also slow on shifting to different stances like Panther or other stances by sidestepping afterwards. Here is another move you can combo with race drive, but you must be on crane stance. So while on crane stance, hit up 4-4, then race drive, and forward 1+2. This short combo does not give the damage, but it is useful if your opponent has low health. Lei's race drive on crane can also be used on wall, once again thanks to melee, but require some great practice with it. For the wall combos we have up back 4 while holding forward to crane stance, race drive, and 3-4-2-3. So those were the combos that can be used on race drive on crane stance. But since it's a strong launcher and it's just like Panther, it is best to use this race drive at the beginning. Anyways, if you want to use this as a beginning, there is a sample move on the command list. And another thing, try to remember that the Lei's up 4-3 is quite risky if your opponent is too close to you. Out of my 100 mistakes, and I still never learn it. The reason is that the up 4-3 is not so fast, and it can easily be countered with another attack that is mid or high. Should your opponent be standing too close to you, you can either go for up 3 or back up 3. However, there are a chance that the up back 3 will either make the race drive whiff, or the rest of the combo will whiff after the race drive. I've noticed that it's quite rare that people use this stance, and it mostly has to do because Lei cannot block against mid and high attacks once it's on crane stance. So yeah, it's a huge disadvantage, but this stance is very strong against low kicks like I mentioned earlier, and other moves like forward 1+2 or up 4-3, and then follow up with some combos. For low hits, we have 4 on crane stance, which a lot of people are afraid of, even myself when it comes to mirror image battles. And also some very good wall hit damage or combos. So yeah, it can be used as bait, setup and punish. So those were the possible race drive combos on Lei's crane stance, and let's move forward to the last 2 remaining stances. The Dragon stance. The race drive on Dragon stance is quite similar to the race drive on Snake, a fast mid attack that pushes the opponent far away. Just like the Snake, it is also often used against opponents who retaliate, and good for baiting and setups. Unlike the other race drives, this one is impossible to combo with after launch without any wall to support, or after a screw. After many experiments with this race drive, all I got from it was a lot of whiffs. The only combo you can do with this race drive is on wall or near wall to do some serious wall damage. So the simplest one is following. On Dragon stance, use race drive near the wall. Then dash and go for forward 3-1 and up back 4. You can also hold back into Phoenix Illusion after the up back 4 and then use the unblockable, but I will not recommend it. So now on to the wall combos. If your opponent is near the wall, use any launchers like the up 4-2 or the sidestep 4, or on Panther stance 2, or forward 3, or play dead with hit first and then 4. So once you launch your opponent near a wall, use back +2 and hold forward to dragon stance. Then use your race drive and then forward 3-1 and up back 4. Now this will be tricky, so pay attention. Make sure that the opponent gets wall hit after the back +2 and not on launch. For if they get hit on wall with your back +2, then they will stay on the wall after being hit, which allow Lei to use his race drive and combo afterwards. If not, you can either whiff with the race drive, or the rest of the combo will whiff after the race drive. You can also use forward neutral 1-2 and sidestep to dragon stance, but the rule is still the same with the wall hit. The next one is also similar. Instead of launch, go for 1+2 on tiger stance and then wall bounce, and then the rest of the combo. One thing to notice: if you're holding forward while doing your dragon race drive, you will transition to tiger stance. Should that happen on wall combo, then use your tiger stance moves if you want to follow up with some mix-ups. This technique is for preventing you from being punished if your opponent blocks the race drive on dragon stance. But it will sometimes drop the wall combos, just as you know. I couldn't think of any other moves than this, so this is so far the best I have on dragon stance. And once again, it is best to use first or near a wall so you can do some heavy wall combos. Should your opponent block and waiting to counter you once you're out of the dragon stance, use the move what I call the dragon dance. Seriously, I don't even know what this move called and it's not on the command list. The dragon dance is by simply pressing 1 while holding back while on dragon stance. If you press 1 while on dragon stance, he will spin and do a throw, which a lot of people are prepared for this and therefore they can dodge down and then punish you. But if you press 1 on dragon stance while holding back, he will cancel the throw while still being on dragon stance. This is the perfect bait for you to do a dragon 2 or dragon race drive. My advice: practice this before spamming it, since it's possible to get punished with a fast launch attack. Otherwise, your Razor Rush to dragon stance is also a good mix-up and some good baiting setup technique. So use them well into your race drive baiting. So those were the race drive on dragon stance, and let us move on to the last remaining and my favorite stance. The Tiger stance. The Tiger race drive is a fast mid attack that makes the opponent launch. It can be used on a good mix-up, setup, and has a strong baiting technique. This race drive is the same move as pressing 1 on counter hit while on Tiger stance, and have a lot of combos that can be used at the beginning, at the wall, and at the end of a combo. Of all the other 4 race drive that Lei has, this one has more to show when it comes to race drive combos, with good amount of damage and a bit of a show off. So let's take a look. You can use any launchers to begin with. The up forward 2, the forward 3, while on Panther stance 2, while rising 3+4, while on play dead hit first and then 4 for spring kick, the counter hit up forward 3, the up forward 4 on crane stance, the sidestep 4, the up forward 4, the counter hit dragon 2, and with surprise while play dead feet first down 3+4, which I will actually explain later. Now that is a shitload of launches, but don't worry, I'll explain as best as I can. So the main trick is that you use the forward neutral 4-1 while holding forward. This will transition Lei into Tiger stance, and from there you can perform your race drive. This technique surprised me on how much you can do with this. However, it all depends on how far your opponent is after a launch or screw. If they are too far away, this move will usually whiff. So here what you can do following. After a launch, then hit up forward 3, then 2 for screw attack, then forward neutral for 1 while holding forward to tiger stance, race drive, and then up forward 2 for falling tree. So there are 2 different kinds of screw, a short screw and a medium screw. The crane 2 is a short screw and back plus 2 and 4 is a medium screw. Those 2 screws gives Lace the opportunity to do his forward neutral for 1 and then transition into tiger stance, and from there performing the race drive and knocking them down, which kind of reminding me of King and Asuka's race drive, which I use as main. However, this will not work on Dragon 2 on counter since it makes him off axis, so you have to go for forward neutral for 1 into tiger stance after the counter hit and then race drive from there. And the same goes for while rising 3 plus 4, so therefore you have to go for back plus 2 and 4, the medium screw, since the crane 2 will whiff. It is also possible to do the tiger 4, but you have to go for the back plus 2 and 4 to do the screw, and then tiger transition and race drive. This will not work if you go for forward neutral for 1 after the tiger 4. And remember, you can use almost any launches that I mentioned on that combo, but there is one thing you have to remember. If you sidestep down and hit 4 for launch and combo afterwards, the race drive will not hit. So it will only work if you sidestep up and hit 4. This has to do with the range and precision is further away from Lei, so keep that in mind. The next move is also similar, but it will only work if it's hit on counter. This move is counter hit up forward 3, then go for up forward 4, then 2 for screw, then forward neutral for 1 while holding forward to tiger stance, race drive, and up forward 2. This is the highest damage that you can pull off with total 96 damage. However, it will only work if up forward 3 or up 3 hits with counter. This combo saved me many times, as people often blocks mid and high, and they always try to hit low or any other annoying attacks, and I really find this a great move to counter with, but I kinda gamble with this move, which is quite dangerous, so use it when you see the opportunity. You can also use this race drive combo while on back turn, but it also has to be hit by counter. So if down forward 1 hits on counter, then use 4-1, then forward neutral 4-1 while holding forward to tiger stance and race drive, and then end it with up forward 2. On this move, the forward neutral 4-1 does normally whiff, so you have to delay the 4-1 after the forward neutral and then transition to tiger stand. With good practice you might be able to time it correctly, and the best way to do it is to make sure that he makes the forward neutral rush step and then hit 4-1. And now to the play dead combo. So while on play dead feet first, hit 3 for the low sweep, then back plus 2 and 4, then forward neutral 4-1 while holding forward to tiger stance, race drive, and up forward 2. And again the forward neutral 4-1 will also whiff here, so remember to delay here as well. But if you delay too much it will also whiff, so make sure you time it right by practicing it, because this one is a pain in the ass to learn. You can also use this on sitting snake. So while on sitting snake, press 4 for the low sweep, then back plus 2 and 4, after the forward neutral, and remember to delay the 4-1, then holding forward to tiger stance, race drive, and up forward 2. You can also use 4-1 to do a screw instead of back plus 2 and 4, however it is much more difficult and much more pain in the ass to master it. Most combos that hit with back plus 2 and 4 to do a screw attack is best to delay the 4-1 after the forward neutral, since the range is a bit longer. However, I did try to use other combos with it, but the forward neutral 4-1 whiffs because of the range after a screw and makes him impossible to reach. So let's move on to the wall combos. On near wall, go for any launches, then forward neutral 4-1, race drive, and up forward 2. After the race drive on wall, you can also do while crunching down forward 2 1 4 and then 2. This gives more damage than the other wall combos with race drive on Tiger. And with wall bounce is just the same as the other two, but just don't get close or the race drive will whiff. It is the same as the Dragon's Dance race drive on wall. Make sure that you don't get hit on wall on launch or the race drive will whiff. It is possible to do it if they are not so far down after the wall hit, but it's a 50-50 move, so I wouldn't recommend it to use it. Unlike the other 4 race drive that Lei has, this one has the opportunities to use from the beginning or at the end of a combo, which makes this race drive a strong utility. And with the counter hit of for 3 combo with 96 damage, and the one that are closest to this damage is Panther 2 with 90 damage. I've noticed a lot of players always change from offensive style to defensive style after being hit by one of these combos. Because honestly, who the fuck wants to get hit like that again? Definitely not me. Not me. Nope. And not only that, the Tiger stance itself has the fastest movement of all Lei stances. His Tiger 3 has the fastest move, and you can also do the Tiger 3 while holding forward that leads it into Sitting Snake. Should they block the Tiger kick, you can do the leg sweep from Sitting Snake and do the race drive combo afterwards. His Tiger stance also parries mid and high if you press forward with the Tiger stance, but does not parry on follow-ups. If you want to use this race drive at the beginning, try to use back forward back for backdashing or forward back forward to dash. They're both very tricky and work pretty well on baiting your opponent. However, on this stance, Lei cannot block any lows that comes, so you must interrupt any low attacks with another move or using backdash to get out of the range. So keep that in mind. So those were the 5 race drive combos and what could be used as combo. And I must say that this experiment was really tough, since each day I played I always found more and more possible ways to combo, especially the Tiger stance. Should I give any advice of all those race drive combos? I will say practice them well before putting them out into the battlefield. And those that are recommended to use first, just remember to do some good setup and baiting, since they're key to success. However, try not to rely way too much on them, since it can lead you off guard, and if your opponent reads you, you will get punished and lose. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope I explained them all, and I hope you like my Danish English accent. And let me know what you think in the comment below. Do you have other moves that I don't know? Write them down as well. Until so far, thanks for watching. Winter's out.